The first time I saw my neighbor collapse onto her front porch, I thought someone in her family had died. What I discovered moments later was somehow even more heartbreaking. The woman who had spent 20 years helping thousands of strangers become parents had quietly accepted that she would probably never hold a child of her own. The doctor everyone trusted to create miracles had run out of hope for herself. Before you continue this emotional journey, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change lives, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing stories that remind us what truly matters. Every morning in the quiet neighborhood of Maple Ridge began with open windows, trimmed gardens, children riding bicycles, and neighbors greeting one another beneath warm sunshine. It was the kind of place where people knew one another's routines without ever asking questions. I had lived there for almost 6 years after losing my wife to a sudden illness. My name was Garrett, and although I had learned how to smile again, I had also learned how lonely daylight could feel when there was no one waiting inside your home. Across the street lived Dr. Celeste Rowan, a fertility specialist known throughout the state for helping families who had nearly given up hope. News articles praised her compassion. Former patients often left flowers on her porch. Couples sometimes stopped by just to introduce children she had helped bring into the world. From the outside, she seemed like someone whose life overflowed with purpose. Yet every afternoon, after the grateful families drove away, she walked back inside alone. I noticed little things before anyone else did. The way she lingered beside the neighborhood playground instead of walking past it. The way she smiled warmly whenever babies laughed nearby but looked away before anyone noticed tears gathering in her eyes. She always celebrated everyone else's happiness, yet never spoke about herself. One sunny Saturday morning she fainted while watering roses. I rushed across the street before anyone else reached her. Within minutes she opened her eyes, embarrassed more than frightened, insisting she had skipped breakfast after another exhausting week at the clinic. That afternoon she thanked me with homemade lemonade on her back patio. It was the first real conversation we had ever shared. She admitted something she had hidden from almost everyone. She had spent years undergoing treatments herself. Every procedure she recommended to patients had once been performed on her own body. Every hopeful conversation she held in her office echoed promises she desperately wanted to believe herself. Every negative test result had quietly broken another piece of her heart. Her marriage had ended because endless disappointment slowly became unbearable for both of them. There had been no betrayal, no shouting, no hatred. Only grief that grew heavier than love. She looked across the bright afternoon sky before saying something that stayed with me forever. Some people spend their whole lives opening doors for everyone else while standing outside themselves. Weeks passed, and our friendship deepened. We shared coffee on sunny mornings before work. We planted vegetables in my backyard. We laughed over burned barbecue lunches and argued playfully about whose tomatoes were growing faster. For the first time since my wife's passing, I realized companionship could return without replacing the love I had lost. One afternoon, after volunteering together at a neighborhood charity picnic, Celeste asked whether we could sit beneath the old oak tree overlooking the community garden. She looked unusually nervous. She explained that she had reached the final stage where biology offered almost no remaining options. She wasn't asking for money. She wasn't asking for pity. She asked if I would consider helping her become a mother by supporting her through the process she had chosen, becoming the trusted person who would stand beside her as she pursued parenthood through donor-assisted treatment and, if needed, adoption. She had no close family left. Her parents had passed away years earlier. Her sister lived overseas with serious health problems. She wanted someone who genuinely cared about her to attend appointments, help prepare a home, encourage her through disappointments, and, if life became overwhelming, remind her not to give up. She wasn't asking me to solve her loneliness. She was asking whether I believed she deserved hope. The request caught me completely by surprise because it wasn't what I had imagined at all. For a brief second my mind raced through assumptions that disappeared as quickly as they came. Then I saw the truth written across her face. She wasn't searching for perfection. She was searching for family. I said yes before fear could answer for me. That simple promise changed both our lives. The months that followed tested us in ways neither of us expected. Medical appointments filled our calendars. Paperwork covered her dining room table. Background interviews, evaluations, counseling sessions, and endless waiting became our new routine. There were encouraging days when every phone call seemed filled with possibility. There were devastating afternoons when another opportunity disappeared without explanation. Each disappointment left her wondering whether she was selfish for continuing. Each setback reminded me how invisible heartbreak could become when someone smiled professionally all day. At the clinic she comforted hopeful couples with endless patience. At home she quietly folded tiny baby clothes she had bought years earlier and never returned. One afternoon I found her placing those clothes into a donation box. She believed someone else deserved them more. Instead of driving to the donation center, I asked her to walk with me through the neighborhood. Children chased bubbles across a park. Parents pushed strollers beneath bright blue skies. Grandparents laughed beside picnic tables. I reminded her that none of those families had perfect stories. Every smiling face had survived disappointment, uncertainty, or fear before arriving at joy. Hope wasn't guaranteed. But surrender guaranteed nothing would ever change. She carried the donation box back inside. The clothes remained folded in her closet. Summer arrived, bringing longer days and warmer mornings. Our neighborhood had slowly begun noticing how often we worked together. Rumors spread, as neighborhoods often create stories where silence exists. Some believed we were secretly engaged. Others assumed we had always been a couple. Neither rumor mattered. The truth was simpler and stronger. Two lonely people had become one another's greatest encouragement. Late one morning, during yet another ordinary day filled with sunshine, Celeste received a phone call that left her frozen. An infant had entered emergency protective care. The agency needed someone already approved and prepared. They needed an answer immediately. She looked at me with trembling hands. Not because she feared becoming a mother. Because she feared believing happiness had finally arrived. Within hours we drove together beneath clear daylight skies to meet a tiny little girl whose future had become uncertain before her first birthday. The child smiled the moment Celeste gently lifted her into her arms. It wasn't dramatic. There were no miracles visible to anyone else. Only a peaceful silence that seemed to erase years of sorrow. For the first time since I'd known her, Celeste cried without hiding. Not from grief. From relief. The following weeks became beautifully exhausting. The nursery filled with laughter instead of unopened boxes. Neighbors delivered meals. Children from nearby houses drew colorful welcome cards. Former patients sent blankets, books, and handwritten notes thanking the doctor who had once helped build their own families. One letter stood out among hundreds. It simply read, "You spent your life believing in our dreams before your own. Thank you for teaching us that love creates families long before biology ever does." Celeste framed those words above the nursery door. Watching her become a mother transformed more than her own life. It transformed mine as well. I discovered that healing doesn't always arrive by replacing what we've lost. Sometimes healing quietly appears when we choose to carry someone else's burden for a while. Months later, as autumn sunshine warmed the neighborhood sidewalks, I realized my empty house no longer felt empty. Tiny footsteps often wandered through my kitchen. Crayon drawings decorated my refrigerator. Birthday parties replaced silent weekends. The little girl eventually called me Uncle Garrett before she could clearly pronounce my name. That single word filled spaces inside my heart I had believed would remain empty forever. Celeste often said I had helped her become a mother. The truth was that she had helped me become part of a family again. Neither of us received the future we had originally imagined. We received something gentler. Something stronger. Something built through compassion instead of expectation. Years later, neighborhood children still raced their bicycles beneath bright afternoon skies while parents gathered for picnics and celebrations. Whenever new families moved into Maple Ridge, someone inevitably pointed toward Celeste's house and shared the story of the doctor who had spent her career giving hope to strangers before finally discovering that hope had been quietly growing in her own neighborhood all along. Before this story ends, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment sharing whether you believe family is created by love, by sacrifice, or by both, and tell us what lesson touched your heart the most. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember that sometimes the greatest miracle isn't the one we spend years searching for. Sometimes it begins the moment we choose to stand beside someone who has almost given up, proving that kindness, hope, and unwavering compassion can turn ordinary daylight into the brightest chapter of someone's life.